Stop nagging about housework and do your job.
My husband's harsh words in response to my simple requests. All I wanted was to walk through life together as a couple. If this is it, what's the point of being married? In the midst of my despair, my husband suddenly changed. Maybe this could lead to the marital life I've always dreamed of. But it turned out to be wishful thinking on my part. I should never have trusted his words. My name is Amy Watson. I'm 43 years old. I met Harry on a business trip a few years ago, and now we're married, living together. We had a long-distance relationship, requiring flights to see each other. Both busy with work, we rarely met, but after several years, we managed to marry.
I'll definitely make you happy.
I'll never forget his proposal. I never thought I'd marry such a wonderful man. Back then, he was very charming and popular with women. I might be biased, but I was thrilled he chose me. Given the distance, I moved to live with him, starting our married life. However, I couldn't quit my job, so I transferred to another branch. Because, frankly, my husband didn't earn much. Whether it was his company's low pay or his lack of promotions, his salary was just too low. If I quit my job, we couldn't live. Initially, my husband wanted me to be a housewife, but gradually he stopped commenting on my work as he faced reality. Years later, this hasn't changed. We both work to barely make ends meet. But a significant event changed our lives. It was my husband's attitude. Initially kind, he gradually revealed his true self over time. It started with small things, not clearing the dishes after meals. Hey, could you put away the dishes after eating?
Sorry.
He'd agree when I asked, but soon forget. Is it okay to leave the dishes?
Yes.
We had planned to share household chores, but once married, he hardly did any. Always finding excuses. I thought he must be tired, so I didn't press too much about chores. But honestly, he finishes work earlier than me and seems to have it easy. He even said his job was simple. Conversely, my job is demanding and keeps me busy every day. Handling both work and household chores is tough. I thought he could help me a bit more. Finally reaching my limit, I decided to have a serious talk with him. Hey, about the housework, could you help out a bit more? I'm getting tired too. Then he suddenly changed his expression. It was clear he was angry.
All right, I got it,
he said, his voice filled with anger. At that time I didn't mention it, but I wondered why he was so upset. Since that day, my husband's attitude has drastically changed. The reason is clear. It's because I asked him to help with the housework. Looking back, I guess he only sees me as a convenient housekeeper. One day, when I returned home from work as usual, the house was filled with the smell of alcohol. Feeling disgusted, I went to the living room. Opening the door, I found my husband lying on the sofa, surrounded by empty alcohol cans. He probably didn't go to work. Hey, what's wrong? Are you okay? I approached my drunken husband and asked. He opened his eyes, glaring sharply at me.
You're so annoying.
Annoying? He answered irritably and closed his eyes again. But seeing him so lost in alcohol, I couldn't help but worry. Did he fall into some kind of mental illness without me knowing? Or did he turn to alcohol? Hey, what's with all this alcohol? To this question, he opened his eyes again and said,
That's why I'm telling you to shut up. What I do is none of your business.
But, as I tried to argue, he got up from the sofa and started yelling at me. Slurring his words, he hurled insults at me and then went back to his room. Why do I have to be spoken to like this just for being concerned? Alone in the living room, I sat for a while and then cleaned up the empty cans and snack bags he had left behind. Then one day, something else happened. It seemed like a deliberate act of harassment against me. Laundry and dishes were intentionally scattered around. Many dishes were broken, some of which were my favorites. After that incident, I knew immediately it was my husband's doing. I wanted to talk to him, but he seemed to be out. Probably drinking, as his work should have ended by then. So he deliberately came home just to mess up the room. How sinister! I quickly called him, but he didn't answer. Reluctantly, I sent a text and got a reply immediately. Maybe he thought I'd talked too much over the phone. The text was brief. It read, "I'm not coming home tonight." No destination, no explanation of what he was doing. So, what should I do? Should I just stay quiet and obey what he says? Is it all my fault? I feel sad, helpless. I did the right thing, and yet, what should I have done? Thinking this, I cleaned up the mess scattered around the room. Looking back, I noticed scratches on the floor. I'll probably remember this day whenever I see them. The next day, my husband returned home as he said he would. His steps were unsteady, and he reeked of alcohol. "Hey, what were you doing? I was worried about you." Frustrated by his lack of greeting, I couldn't help but ask in an angry tone. To that, my husband replied,
"What I do is none of your business."
"We're married. It is my business." Upset by his attitude, I pressed further, but he just glared at me and went back to his room. I couldn't help but sigh. Was the man I married always this difficult? Where did things go wrong? Thinking about it made me cry uncontrollably. But I'm not giving up. If I keep trying, maybe he'll understand what I'm thinking. Maybe he'll spend the weekends with me. Maybe help with chores. I won't ask for much. Just want him to be in a better mood. Holding on to that hope, I keep talking to him. "How was work today? Tough? Dinner is pot au feu." But his response wasn't good. Ignoring me was the norm. He often clicked his tongue and glared at me. It seemed impossible to mend our relationship with him acting like this. Lately, he wouldn't even eat the meals I prepared. I started questioning our relationship. Should I continue this marriage? Would it be better to let him have his freedom? These thoughts only brought negativity. As a last resort, I made a plea to my husband. "Please, don't ignore me." To my surprise, he suddenly apologized.
"Sorry."
I was stunned. I never expected him to apologize. And then,
"I'll start helping with the housework."
"Really?"
"I've been wrong about a lot of things."
Saying that, he actually patted my head. It had been years since he did that. Skeptically, I thought it odd for him to suddenly change and apologize. Given his past actions, it was hard not to doubt. But I chose to believe he had a change of heart and felt overjoyed. After that, he really did help with chores. Laundry, cooking, cleaning. Sometimes he'd finish everything before I got home. I never knew he could cook. Sitting across from a smiling husband, we enjoyed our meals together. He also became more invested in his work. He started doing overtime he never did before and studying for qualifications, often staying late at the office. "How's work going recently?"
It's going well,"
he said with a smile. We were spending more time together, and it felt like we were newlyweds again. But there was one thing that bothered me. He said he was working overtime, but there was no extra pay. It's hard to say without prior experience, but this could indicate a serious issue with his work environment. "Hey, don't you get paid for overtime?" When I asked, he said,
"Oh, it's voluntary study overtime. I haven't applied for it."
I see. Financially, I wished he would apply for overtime pay, but maybe he felt hesitant. I don't know much about his company, so it wasn't my place to say. For now, I decided to support his decision. However, I would later also regret accepting this change so easily. One day, I was assigned to a business trip. I had left home for a day before, but this time it would be for a week. I felt excited but also nervous and lonely. When I told my husband about the trip, his reaction was unexpected.
"A business trip? How many days?"
Usually he showed little interest in my trips and never asked how long I'd be away. But this time, he seemed genuinely interested and even asked about the duration. I thought maybe he's really changed and started to value our family. It made me feel glad I married him. From the week after next for a week.
Okay, the week after next,
He said and started looking at his calendar on his mobile phone. I didn't know the details, but it seemed his schedule had become busier. Maybe he was getting more work or becoming more relied upon at his job.
Got it. The week after next. Take care.
Yeah, thanks. That was our conversation. Then, on the morning of the departure, I informed my newly reformed husband about various household things, the supermarket where you can buy cheap groceries, how to iron clothes. I also told him where to find small daily necessities so he wouldn't struggle. Well, I'm off. Call me if you need anything.
Thanks.
With that, I left for my business trip. That night, after finishing work and returning to my hotel, I surprisingly received a message from my husband.
How's work?
Good, it's going smoothly. After a trivial exchange, I texted goodnight and closed my mobile phone. I wondered how he was doing, if he was feeling lonely. Thinking about this, I began preparing for the next day's work. About a week later, my job ended successfully and I was ready to return home. Luckily, I finished a day earlier than planned. If no urgent work came up, I would have tomorrow off. On my way home, feeling happy, I decided to stop by the supermarket to cook dinner. What to make? Curry? Stew? That's when I remembered we might be out of oil. And then I realized I hadn't told my husband I was coming home early. Would he be shocked if I returned suddenly? I messaged him to check if we had oil and also mentioned I was coming home early from my business trip. But even after I finished shopping, there was no response from him. Could he be at work? Maybe working overtime again? Not wanting to disturb him, I stopped myself from sending another message and queued at the checkout. It's always good to have extra oil, after all. On my way home from the store, my husband called.
Hey, are you on your way home now? Where are you?
He sounded panicked. Was something wrong? Yeah, I'm in the apartment elevator now. When I told him that, he hung up without saying anything else. What was going on? Worried, I hurried to our apartment. I'm home. Harry, are you okay? No response. Harry! As I was taking off my shoes to enter, my husband came from the living room in a rush and collapsed. Are you okay?
I'm in pain. Call an ambulance,
he said, clutching my hand. I immediately grabbed my mobile phone and called an ambulance. The ambulance arrived within minutes. I led the paramedics into our apartment and they started attending to my husband. Was he going to be okay? What would happen to him? As I was anxiously watching, I noticed something. There was an unfamiliar woman's bag. Certainly not the paramedic's bag. Not mine either. I felt a lump in my throat. Then, looking towards the living room window, I saw unfamiliar women's underwear hanging there. Could my husband be having an affair? Thinking back, his panicked reaction when I called was definitely strange. Was he trying to hide his affair? I tentatively looked around the apartment, pretending to gather things from my husband's hospital stay to avoid suspicion. Living room, bathroom, kitchen, but nothing else. The bag was there, so unless the woman had escaped out of the window, she must still be here. Finally, I went to the shower room, and to my surprise, the light was on and I saw a shadow. I opened the door and looked at the bathtub. I couldn't believe what was happening in front of me and wanted to look away. The realization that my suspicions were true was something I didn't want to think about. I wish I had been wrong about the bag and the underwear. I went back to the entrance, and then this conversation happened with the paramedics.
Your family, right? Please come with us.
Sorry, my mistake.
What?
The paramedic sounded surprised at my response. My husband also seemed shocked. Ignoring them, I brought the woman from the shower room to the entrance. This woman is family, so she'll come along. Wait a minute! The woman was flustered as I said this. The husband, clearly surprised, suddenly sat up with effort.
You what?
paramedics calmed my agitated husband. Actually, this man seems fine. What do you think?
Well, yes, his condition doesn't seem bad.
Eventually, it was decided that my husband didn't need emergency care, and if he felt worse, he should go to the hospital. The room fell silent after the paramedics left. So what's going on here? I sat my husband and the woman down in front of me and demanded an explanation. At first, they were silent, looking uncomfortable, but they gave up as I silently waited. My husband began to speak.
I'm sorry for the misunderstanding. This girl is a junior from work. We're just close, but nothing inappropriate happened.
After his words, the junior spoke up. That's right, we were just having a meeting. Nothing inappropriate. To claim such things now, do you need to take a bath and hang your underwear for a meeting?
What's going on?
I pointed to the underwear hanging in the living room. The two exchanged looks, realizing their mistake. The truth was already clear. If you have time to make up excuses, just tell me the truth. Pressing them further, my husband confessed everything.
I'm really sorry.
Sorry isn't enough. Was all the overtime a lie? It turned out my husband and his junior became involved after we got married. He started the affair because I nagged about housework. But then the junior complimented him on being a man who could do housework, so he tried harder. The increased overtime was just to meet her. I noticed the junior looking almost triumphant. That's why there was no overtime pay. He wasn't even trying to get any qualifications. It was all just talk. I understand what you're thinking. Let's just get divorced. Please be with that woman. I was so dismayed that I proposed divorce. It wasn't a threat. I couldn't forgive the deception. But my husband wouldn't agree.
Divorce isn't the answer,
he protested. To top it all off, he said,
if you had properly told me you were coming home, this wouldn't have happened.
Yeah, coming back suddenly is just unfair. The junior added, had I been fooled by my husband's act all this time? Thinking about it made me feel pathetic. Amy, Harry is showing remorse, right? His affair partner was also desperately trying to calm me down. You don't really want a divorce, do you? You're just pushing the blame for your affair onto me. Let's just end this. Let's divorce.
No, it's not like that.
The junior avoided my gaze, clearly uncomfortable. Look at her sulking. You two should live happily together. Sulking? She tried to argue, but I cut her off. Yes, sulking. Her expression became even more sullen.
Look, she seems to be repenting too.
Shut up! Nothing you say will make me forgive you. As I shouted, both of them shrunk back. What do we do from now on? They need to reflect on what they have done and said. Afterward, I hired a lawyer to start preparing for the divorce and claim compensation for the divorce trial. Throughout, there was no contact from my husband. Eventually, my in-laws reached out, asking what had happened. I told them everything and they apologized and agreed to help with the divorce. Eventually, my husband, looking exhausted, agreed to a consensual divorce after speaking with the in-laws. I made sure to claim compensation from the junior as well. She was reluctant at first, but ultimately complied with my request. I demanded a lump sum payment because I thought she might try to escape her responsibility. After the divorce, since my husband and the junior were from the same company, it quickly became known they had an affair. They were treated coldly by their colleagues and lost their place at the company. They also became targets of gossip, and the talk even reached their clients. Unable to handle the situation, both ended up leaving the company. I don't know if they married, but they must be struggling financially after paying me the compensation. I imagine them arguing over money issues. I moved to a new apartment shortly after. It's cheaper than my previous one, but much more comfortable. I remembered that I chose the old apartment based on my husband's preferences. Returning to my apartment, I sighed in relief that it was all over. All right, Since the divorce, I've been more focused on work and my performance has improved, leading to a promotion. I thought the divorce was a rash decision made in anger, but now I'm happy it's all over. It feels like a weight has been lifted. With these thoughts, I sipped my favorite tea, rejuvenating myself for tomorrow.
My name is Emily, and I'm 43 years old. I've been married for 21 years, and I have a 20-year-old son. My husband's name is Robert, and he's 55. I work from home these days. I've loved this family for 20 years, or at least I thought I was happy. I want to share the story of how I almost lost it all. I grew up in a foster home since I was 1. By the time I was aware of my surroundings, Elisa, the director of the children's home, was like a mother to me. 2 years older than me, we were like siblings. Ryan and Olivia, twins, they also came to the foster home around the same time I did. Their parents had died in an accident. Thanks to them and Elisa, I had a relatively smooth childhood in the foster home. But when Ryan and Olivia turned 17, they were adopted by relatives and left the home. For the first time in my life, I felt a crushing sadness. At 15, I couldn't cope with the loss. I started to act out as the people around me became increasingly cruel. I began sneaking out to the city at night to vent my frustrations. Even when I was detained for being a minor and Elisa came to pick me up from the police station, I acted like I didn't care about her worries. Elisa had been through a divorce. She had lost a child to illness shortly after birth and was blamed for it by her then-husband, leading to their divorce. After that, she started working at the foster home and became its director. She was the one who named me Emily. She told me she saw her lost child in me and raised me with a mother's love. But she was struggling with how to deal with me, her non-biological but emotional daughter. One day, Elisa came to me, who was living a reckless life and skipping school, and suddenly started crying. "Even if we're not related by blood, you're my child. All the kids here are precious, but I'm only human, and I have special feelings for you." She stroked my head, saying, "Emily, Emily," and started crying. "I should have hugged you like this sooner. I'm sorry." She kept apologizing. For some reason, I felt both sad and relieved, and I hugged Elisa tightly while crying loudly. As an adult, I realized I was crying out of happiness, thinking someone needed me. From that day on, I started helping Elisa actively and began calling her Mom. And eventually, I graduated from middle school and started working at the foster home. I was hired by Elisa, who is my mom. To become a social worker, I studied hard through correspondence school and earned my certification. Part of the reason I wanted to work at the foster home was because I believed Ryan and Olivia would come to see me someday. We ordered food supplies for the foster home from a local supermarket, and the delivery guy turned out to be the man I'd later marry. We started with casual conversations every day, but when I found out we liked the same musician, I felt an instant connection. From there, our conversations flowed more naturally, and we grew closer. Eventually, he asked me out on a date. My mom also told me to go, so I headed out on my first date. Since it was my first date experience at the age of 21, I was so nervous that I couldn't speak normally. After a few dates, he confessed his feelings on our 5th outing, and we started dating. When I told Mom, she said, "Finally, Emily has a boyfriend. It's about time. I feel a bit lonely, though," and blessed our relationship with a smile. Our relationship progressed smoothly. One of our best memories was going to a concert of our favorite artist after preparing dinner at the foster home. On the way back from the concert, he proposed to me. I was overjoyed and immediately told Mom, who tearfully and joyfully gave her consent. Her words about having a family stuck with me, and I vowed to love my family forever. At that time, I was 23, and he was 35. His parents were thrilled about our marriage. Even when I told them I was raised in a foster home and didn't know my biological parents, they said it wasn't a problem. He's an only child, but his parents just wanted us to have a happy family. I decided to cherish my future in-laws as well because they were part of my new family. This is because I realized that they are a part of my family, including my in-laws. Soon after, we got married. I quit my job and left the foster home as my husband suggested. I was a bit worried about leaving Mom to run the foster home alone, but she assured me it would be fine as she was hiring cooking staff. Soon after, I became pregnant. The thought of our precious child growing inside me filled me with immense happiness. But contrary to my joy, my once kind husband began to change. He showed no concern for my morning sickness and even called me dirty. He started eating out instead of having meals at home. When my in-laws found out about my struggles with morning sickness, they brought over some home-cooked meals. My husband wasn't home, so they asked me why. I thought it was normal for husbands to eat out during their wives' morning sickness, so I told them without any ill intentions. Upon hearing this, my in-law stayed until my husband returned and scolded him for his behavior. He made some excuses, but eventually apologized to me. Importance of family remained a constant theme. I got yelled at by my in-laws because I spoke about why my husband wasn't around. When I said, "I'm sorry, I thought this was normal life, so I didn't mean any harm," I was shouted at with, "No excuses." I got scared of my husband's anger and instinctively protected my belly. The next day, my husband was back to his sweet self. He sincerely apologized and said, "Once your morning sickness is over, we'll eat at home. Until then, let's eat out." From then on, I started keeping a diary. I wrote about my baby's condition and my family every day. Conversations with my husband, who often came home late, became scarce. The morning sickness was bad, and I felt lonely and anxious. But even then, I thought it was easier than when I was separated from Ryan and Olivia. Yes, that separation was the hardest thing in my life, so nothing could be worse. Even after the morning sickness ended, my husband didn't come home early, and when he did, I could smell sweet perfume. When I asked him, "You smell nice. Did you meet someone?" He seemed surprised for a moment, then angrily said, "Who I meet is none of your business." I didn't want to argue, so I didn't ask further. Even though I'm not savvy about social norms, I suspected he was cheating. I had no one to talk to, so I wrote in my diary as usual. But his betrayal was shocking. I kept quiet because I didn't want to upset him further. Our child was born safely, and it was a boy. My husband was thrilled. We named him Jackson. Apparently, my husband had decided on this name long ago, so he didn't consult me. Baby Jackson looked just like his father. Even my in-laws said, "He looks just like Robert when he was a baby." I decided to love and never let go of the child I gave birth to, so I never complained, even when I couldn't sleep due to night feedings. My son was the light of my life, and I understood what that meant. My mom said I should come back home after giving birth, but my husband wouldn't allow it because he'd struggle with housework. So I did all the shopping and housework after I was discharged. I could do it because it's what my family wanted. At first, Jackson was attached to me, but as he grew, he became more attached to his father, and he started saying, "I'll tell Dad," whenever I said something. When I asked, "What will happen if you tell Dad?" he said, "Dad will get mad at you." I couldn't say anything because my husband didn't want me disciplining Jackson. He said, "Someone not raised by their biological parents can't discipline." So I tried to gently talk to Jackson instead of scolding him. When my husband wasn't around, Jackson was a sweet child who followed me around. But things changed when he entered middle school. He started taking money from my wallet. When I asked, "Jackson, did you take money from my wallet?" he said, "It's okay, it's his money." "Dad told me to take it from you," Jackson replied. I said, "Taking it from my wallet without asking is different from being given it, don't you think?" He just said, "Either way, it ends up in my hands," and walked away. At dinner, my husband and son were eating and chatting. Jackson told his dad that I scolded him for taking money from my wallet. Hearing this, my husband started complaining to me. How dare you, a high school dropout raised in foster care, interfere? I'm the one disciplining Jackson. I said, I just told him it's not okay to take money without asking. My husband told Jackson, it's fine at home, but never take from other people's wallets. Jackson said, I know that, Dad. Smiling, my husband praises him. That's my boy, you get it. From then on, both lectured me, saying, don't interfere with what we're doing. You're just a foster kid with limited education. I wondered, is it okay for family to just take money like that? But I kept quiet, not wanting to upset them. One day, I went to visit the foster home with my mom. She was delighted to see me. We had a good chat as the kids were at school or daycare. Mom said, let's go buy mobile phones today, one for you too. I didn't know what a mobile phone was, as I never watched TV. But when Mom explained, even I, who lacked material desires, wanted one. The idea of connecting to the world was appealing. I felt awkward about her buying it, but when we went to the store, we got free models with a plan. Mom offered to pay, but I thought I should find a way to pay her back. I asked my husband if I could get a part-time job, but he said, it's embarrassing for someone like you to work. So I thought about how to make money at home. I kept the phone off and hidden when the family was around. When they were out, I turned it on and researched ways to earn money from home. I learned about blogging for income and chose that path. I thought it was perfect. I could use my free time and my husband wouldn't find out. I started reading various blogs to learn more. And finally, I started my own blog. Titled, Grew Up in Foster Care with Limited Education, Naive Musings. I wrote about my life experiences. Gradually, my followers increased, and I started receiving comments. In 5 years, I had 20,000 followers and started earning money. My days became fulfilling, but as my blog shifted to my married life, the comments increased, saying my husband's thinking was wrong. I felt sad that my writing seemed like complaints about my husband. I apologized on my blog, saying he's a reasonable person, and it was my poor writing that caused the misunderstanding. The comments on my blog increased even more after that post. Comments like, you're brainwashed, and Emily, you're not wrong, start appearing. I was confused and began to consider quitting the blog to avoid disparaging my husband. Just then, I received a private message on my blog that nearly stopped my heart. It was from someone named Ryan. The message read, Emily, it's Ryan. Do you remember me? Olivia is doing well too. And included a contact number. I called the number, and when I confirmed it was indeed Ryan, I broke down in tears of joy. Ryan and Olivia had been living overseas after being adopted by a cousin. They hadn't contacted me because they didn't want to bring up painful memories. Recently, Olivia discovered my blog, and while reading it, Emily, the blog owner, told Ryan that it might be Emily. Recently, Olivia found my blog and suspected it was me. Ryan read it too, saw their names, and reached out. He apologized for not contacting me sooner and thanked me for the love I'd shown them in my blog. I truly felt that starting a blog was a good thing. I met Ryan and Olivia at the foster home where my mom works. I thanked my mom for the phone that led to my blog income and told her Ryan and Olivia were coming. She was thrilled. Now that I had an income, I switched the phone bill to my account. I set up my mom's phone so she could easily read my blog and headed home. I got home a bit late, and Jackson, now 20 and commuting to college, was already there. As soon as I walked in, he demanded, "Give me $200. I didn't have it on me, so I refused, and he started yelling and throwing a fit. Scared, I headed for the kitchen. On the way, I saw my wallet tossed on the floor, emptied of cash. I remembered the blog comment, "Emily, you're not wrong." And I began to think that maybe it's not okay for a child to take a parent's money. My husband came home and was shocked at the state of the house. I told him honestly that Jackson had thrown a fit because I didn't give him money. He yelled, "It's not your money, it's mine. If Jackson needs it, just give it to him. You have no right to it, you parasite." I finally asked a question that had been on my mind. "Why did you marry me?" He said, "Everyone else was getting married, and I thought you'd be submissive." "Just that?" I asked. "What else could there be? You think you're attractive? If you have a problem, leave. Go back to the director of the children's home, who isn't even your birth mother. I don't need this boring home life," he said, and stormed out, telling me to clean up. I couldn't sleep a wink last night. Neither my husband nor Jackson came home. I grabbed my phone from the dresser and turned it on. Emails from Mom, Ryan, and Olivia were waiting for me. They said to meet at the Child Protective Services office today. Multiple emails with the same message made it clear this was urgent. I clenched my phone and rushed to the Child Protective Services office. When I got there, only Mom was present, having just sent the kids off. She looked shocked at my tear-streaked face. Then Ryan and Olivia walked in. Both looked just like I remembered. They hugged me. I felt warm, and then the tears just wouldn't stop. Ryan and Olivia were crying too. Mom joined in, hugging us all and crying. After a while, we started talking. Ryan broke the ice. "I read your blog. Is that story true?" he asked. I nodded. Then my mother also spoke. Mom chimed in. "Have you been living in shame? I raised you to be a daughter I could be proud of anywhere. What about your parenting? What qualifications did you study so hard for?" She seemed angry but was crying. Ryan said, "If that blog is true, the problem is with Emily's husband. Marriage is a partnership. Why can't Emily speak her mind?" His fist was shaking. Olivia added, "Didn't you read the comments? Why don't you listen to them? What's written there is common sense." They all gently scolded me. Maybe I was wrong. But for 20 years, I truly loved my husband and Jackson, and it was hard to change how I felt. Mom sensed this and asked, "Emily, do you know how much we love you?" "I do. You always put me before yourselves." I thought I was doing the same for my husband and Jackson. I said I believed that true love meant sacrificing myself. But Mom shook her head. "That's not it. I'm very happy. I get happiness from you. But are you really, truly happy now? I don't think you're happy, if only your husband and child are." I thought in silence. I knew Mom and Ryan and Olivia loved me. They never pushed me away. They always listened and accepted what I said, and they were genuinely concerned for my happiness now. What about my husband and Jackson? Had I ever felt love from them? The more I thought, the more I realized I hadn't. But then I remembered Jackson's smile when he was little, and it broke my heart. Jackson was adorable. He used to look at me with a smile. That Jackson is gone now. I told them about what happened yesterday. Mom said, "You can't sever the ties with your child. Even if you divorce, your only child is Jackson." I also told them what my husband had said when I asked him why. Mom took my hand and said, "Your husband told you to leave, right? Then Emily, come home. It's what he wants, isn't it? You can do that." I think she was leveraging my misguided belief that what my family says is for the best. A belief almost akin to brainwashing. So I thought it would be better for the family if I got divorced. Even facing the prospect of leaving my family, I realized it didn't hurt as much as when I had to part with Ryan and Olivia. I went home and said to my husband and Jackson, "Let's get divorced. I'll be the one to leave." Just as I suspected, my husband and Jackson were thrilled. "Good riddance to the parasite." "Awesome! Lucky us!" Seeing their joy, I was convinced that I was neither needed nor loved by them. I thought this was for the best, got their signatures on the divorce papers, and left the house with my few belongings. On the way to the Child Protective Services office, I strangely didn't feel sad. It felt like everyone got what they wanted. I returned to what I could call my original home, the Child Protective Services office. I had a small income from my blog, and I started helping Mom while thinking about the future, especially since the facility was facing financial difficulties. One day, Ryan and Olivia came to the facility. They brought me a book publishing offer. They had become executives in a publishing company. The people who adopted them were relatives of Ryan and Olivia's father, who had refused to take them in. These relatives had vowed to adopt Ryan and Olivia once they were financially stable, and they did. They turned around a failing publishing company and grew it significantly. Ryan and Olivia had shown my blog to the company's CEO, who found it interesting and wanted to publish it. I was hesitant because I didn't have much education and wasn't confident in my writing. But they assured me an editor would help, so I agreed. From there, Ryan, Olivia, the editor, and I had several meetings and published the book. My book, grew up in foster care with limited education, naive musings, caught the media's attention thanks to the publishing company and my followers, and it became a bestseller. I started getting interview requests from the media. I was hesitant due to my shyness, but Ryan and the others encouraged me, so I agreed. Appearing on TV made my ex-husband and Jackson aware of my book. My ex-husband called the Child Protective Services office where I was. When I answered, he said, "How are you? I heard your book is selling well. If I'd known you could make money like this, I wouldn't have divorced you." I stayed silent. "How about we live together again? We could even remarry," he added. Still, I said nothing, assuming I was in a bad mood. He handed the phone to Jackson. "Mom, I miss you. I want to live with you again. I want to eat your cooking." They both seemed to have changed their tune. I asked Jackson, "Did you read my book?" He said he hadn't, so I asked him to ask his father if he had read it. Turns out neither had. I said, "Read the book. Once you do, you won't be able to make calls like this," and hung up. A few days later, it seemed they started getting cold stares from neighbors, co-workers, and classmates, even without reading the book. In a panic, they bought and read the book, realizing it candidly depicted what they had done to me. Since then, I've heard nothing from my ex-husband or Jackson. My ex-husband reportedly won't forgive me for making him feel small. Jackson, who was dumped by his girlfriend and felt down, was talked sense into by a friend. He said, "I'll show Mom that I've changed and earn her forgiveness," and decided to quit college to become a licensed clinical psychologist. He says he wants to provide mental care for children at this Child Protective Services facility, if I ever forgive him. I believe people don't change easily, but part of me is waiting for that day, since he's my child. I've come to think that blood ties don't matter. If you're connected by the heart, you can become a family, even if you're not related.
My name is Rachel. I live with my husband Samuel, our daughter Sarah, and my mother-in-law Lily. Mother-in-law and daughter-in-law conflicts are not uncommon, and our household is no exception. Ever since I got married, Lily has been throwing shade my way. Be better at housework, your cooking is lazy, have kids already, just to name a few. Samuel always defends me though. However, Lily absolutely adores our long-awaited daughter Sarah. Sarah is equally fond of her grandma, making me realize that even the most critical people have a soft spot for their grandchildren. But with that affection came unwanted opinions on how we raised Sarah. I first noticed something was off when Sarah was 2.5 years old. I started to feel anxious because she still wasn't speaking. Lily blamed me, saying it was my fault for letting the TV raise her. Upon Samuel's suggestion, we took Sarah to the hospital. The diagnosis was a developmental delay. Sarah had a disability. I was devastated, and Lily's words didn't help. "How embarrassing that my grandchild has a disability. We can't even face society." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. The same Lily who doted on Sarah now looked at her with cold eyes I had never seen before. "There is no history of disability in our family. Rachel, are you sure Sarah is Samuel's child? She isn't the result of an affair, is she?" Her harsh words shocked me. "Well, you're not denying it. Could it be true?" "I can't believe you would say that, Lily."
"Mom, stop it. There is no way Rachel would cheat. Sarah is our beloved daughter, disability or not. If you have a problem, you can leave."
Samuel's heated response made Lily backtrack. "Oh, I was just joking. Sorry, Rachel." As she started giving candy to Sarah, Since then, mother-in-law has continued to adore Sarah without saying a word, but only when Samuel is around. But the moment he left, the snide comments began. Sarah is such a pitiful child. I wonder what will become of her in the future. You know, I heard a boy with a disability injured someone. It's scary, isn't it? That's why I worry. Please stop, especially in front of her. We're doing everything we can to raise her well. Oh, come on. She has a disability. She doesn't understand what we are saying. She would just keep going. A daughter-in-law who can only give birth to children with disabilities? Maybe that was a mistake. They say older mothers are more likely to have children like this. We should have gotten a younger daughter-in-law. No matter how many times I asked her to stop, she wouldn't listen. I couldn't bring myself to tell Samuel, who genuinely believed his mother had changed for the better. My father-in-law has just passed away, and if mother-in-law gets kicked out, she has nowhere else to go. Besides, she does love Sarah in her own way. Taking away Sarah's beloved grandmother wasn't something I could easily do. It's not the time to be down. I have got to be strong for my daughter. That's what I would tell myself every time her words hurt me. Sarah is now 7 years old. She speaks slowly but surely. She's in special needs class in elementary school. Samuel and I warmly watch as Sarah grows at her own pace. Mother-in-law still laments, why can't she be like other kids? Then one day, I felt something strange in my body and suspected I might be pregnant. I went to the OBGYN and sure enough, I was expecting our second child. I happily shared the news with Samuel and mother-in-law.
Way to go, Sarah, you're gonna be a big sister.
Sarah also looked delighted. It was a moment of happiness. But what if the next one also has a disability? Mother-in-law said, looking concerned. Raising 2 children with disabilities is tough. Maybe you should consider terminating the pregnancy.
Mom, what are you saying? We don't even know if the child will have a disability.
Oh, you're even older now than when you had Sarah. That means the chances are even higher. And let's face it, it runs in the family. The next one will surely have a disability too.
Mom, enough is enough. We are raising both kids, no matter what.
After my mother-in-law shrugged her shoulders and walked away, Samuel turned to me.
Hey, are you okay? If you can't stand this, Rachel, we can always separate, you know?
I'm fine. She adores Sarah in her own way. She'll come around with this child too. Little did I know I would later regret this decision. One day, I noticed my belly was starting to show. While playing with Sarah, the doorbell rang and the front door opened. Hey there, Rachel. How's it going? The face that appeared was Samuel's younger sister, Emily. She was holding a paper bag. Emily lives on her own and has always admired me. Emily has always been fond of me, subtly shielding me from mother-in-law's snide remarks. She's also great with Sarah. She's genuinely a bright and cheerful person. We often go shopping together. Mother-in-law seems to have a soft spot for Emily, her late-in-life child, so Emily's presence often keeps mother-in-law's passive aggressiveness at bay. Emily, long time no see. Oh, Emily, you should have called before coming. Emily, let's play. Emily smiled at the warm welcome from the three of us. I came because I have something I want to show you, Rachel. Saying this, we both went upstairs to my room. Ta-da! I found a dress that would look great on you, Rachel. Emily took a stylish dress out of the bag. It's a nice gesture, but I'm pregnant. I wonder if it would suit me. Noticing my hesitation, Emily spoke up. Why don't you try it on? When I did, I found that the dress not only fit well, but also did accentuate my baby bump. Wow, I didn't know something like this existed. Thank you. You're welcome. Actually, I bought another one just like it. I wanted us to match. Emily then took out another dress identical to the one she gave me. Sarah, seeing this, ran excitedly to my mother-in-law. Grandma, Mom is wearing a blue dress. What are you doing, Grandma? Oh, how nice for you. Just as Emily and I were enjoying our matching dresses, my mother-in-law called me. Rachel, we have guests. Come downstairs. Okay. As I was about to leave, Emily stopped me. It's fine. You need to take care of yourself. I'll go. Before I could reply, Emily left the room. Right after, a scream rang out and I rushed out in alarm. And then I found Emily lying at the bottom of the stairs. My mother-in-law was shouting, Rachel! Oh my god, Rachel! Snap out of it! I'm right here. What's going on? My mother-in-law glanced back and forth between me and Emily, clearly confused. Wait, then who is this? That's when she realized it wasn't me who had fallen, but Emily who was wearing the same blue dress. She turned pale. Emily, hang in there. Oh, what do I do? We quickly called an ambulance and Emily was taken away. I was praying hard for Emily's safety. Sarah was also crying, however, something didn't sit right with me. My mother-in-law had said we have guests, but there were no guests to be seen. I was growing suspicious of her crying. In light of my sister's emergency, even my husband rushed back from work. Luckily, Emily regained consciousness quickly and gave us her usual innocent smile from her hospital bed. However, she had broken her leg and wouldn't be walking for a while. Emily, are you okay? I'm sorry if I had been there. It's not your fault, Rachel. I'm the clumsy one. I felt like something tripped me, even though there was nothing there. I didn't miss how my mother-in-law was visibly shaken by those words. Is it the string? Sarah said, revealing something in her hand. Granny had strung this across the top of the stairs. This is piano wire. What's going on, mother-in-law? Stringing piano wire across the stairs could only be seen as malicious. Don't make absurd accusations, you disabled person. Mom, Sarah may be disabled, but she doesn't lie. What's this piano wire about?
Mom, what's going on? Were you actually trying to harm your own daughter?
Even Samuel, my husband, turned against mother-in-law. No, I never meant for Emily to get hurt. So, you meant for Rachel to get hurt, didn't you? You said we had guests and called Rachel out. That's right, and there were actually no guests. My mother-in-law had nothing to say.
Mom, were you trying to kill Rachel and the child she's carrying? Your own grandchild? Why would you do something so horrible, Mom?
Enough! I don't need a daughter-in-law who gives birth to disabled children. The room went ice-cold at her words. My mother-in-law continued without pause. Sarah turned out that way, so the next one will surely be disabled too. It's better for both mother and child to be gone now so they won't have to suffer later.
Mom, are you serious?
Of course I am. Sarah can't even read at her age, unlike other kids. She's a failure. At his mother's harsh words, Samuel raised his voice.
Mom, how could you say that?
People with disabilities only lead lives of struggles. They're a burden. They have no reason to live. The woman who gives birth to a child with disabilities is no better. She's ruining your life, Samuel.
Mom, you used to dote on Sarah.
I feel sorry for her as my grandchild, but that was a mistake. To think she would tattle? I thought she couldn't understand anything because she has a disability. Mother-in-law glares bitterly at Sarah. That's why she could set a trap in front of Sarah. I shuddered at the thought that they underestimated Sarah because she has a disability. Maybe if they succeeded, they were planning to go after Sarah next? It's a chilling thought.
Mom, do you understand what you tried to do is murder?
It was for you, my dear son. I did want to see you struggle because of a child with a disability. Why didn't you divorce this woman with flawed genes and find a younger one? At his mother's audacity, Samuel shoots her an icy look unlike any she's ever seen before.
Mom, there's something I never told you. Remember how I was bullied a lot as a child?
Oh yes, you often came crying to me.
As an adult, I struggled with relationships and sought medical help. That's when I learned that I have a developmental disability.
Samuel shows her a card certifying his disability. You are...
Yeah, if this disability is hereditary, the cause isn't Rachel, it's me.
Why didn't you tell me?
How could I tell a woman who would even think of killing her own grandchild just because they might have a disability?
The mother-in-law is at a loss for words. I would never kill you.
Who knows? But I should have told you earlier, then maybe you wouldn't have tried to harm Rachel. I'm truly sorry, Rachel and Sarah.
Samuel apologized to us.
When I was shocked to learn I have a disability, it was Rachel who stood by me.
That's right. I fell for Samuel, a gentle, if quirky man, and told him, disability or not, I love you for who you are.
Right now, I'm thriving at work and even leading big projects.
Some people with disabilities, including those with Savant syndrome, show exceptional talents. Samuel is one of them, using his talents in his work.
Life ruined? That's nonsense. I'm happy. Are you saying that people with disabilities don't deserve to live? That woman who gave birth to them are at fault too? That hits pretty close to home for me and my mom.
I didn't know. This is different. Mom, I'm the same. I can't walk now, so that makes me disabled too. You're the one who put me in this situation. Please forgive me, Emily. You weren't the target. Even the ever-smiling Emily glares at my mother-in-law. You have got to be kidding. That's the least forgivable thing. I can't forgive a woman who insulted her adorable niece and almost killed Rachel and her unborn child.
Same here. I'm cutting ties with you, Mom. After trying to kill my wife and child and making Emily go through this, unforgivable. Please leave now.
The coldness in Samuel's voice sent shivers down his mother's spine. Please forgive me. I won't do it again. I have nowhere else to go.
Then your only option is prison.
Prison?
Of course, what you have done is attempted murder. But whether to press charges is up to Rachel.
Just as the decision fell on me, my mother-in-law began to apologize profusely. Rachel, I am sorry. Please, not the police. I was torn. What she did is unforgivable, but she's also Samuel and Emily's mother. Above all, I didn't want Sarah and our unborn child to have a criminal for a grandmother. I won't report you to the police, Rachel. But I will sue you for damages. And you're leaving, never to see Sarah or our upcoming child again. How will I live? Looking around at the unsupportive faces, her eyes finally land on Sarah. Sarah will miss her grandma, won't she? I have doted on her so much.
Mom, stop it.
I couldn't believe my ears. The same woman who insulted Sarah for her disability was now clinging to her for help? So they still think Sarah doesn't understand anything because she has a disability? When I look at Sarah, she is giving mother-in-law the same cold stare that Samuel and I are. Grandma, you don't like me, do you? No, that's not true. Grandma loves you, Sarah. That's a lie. You said I'm a burden and trash. Sarah spoke slowly but clearly. She understood exactly what her grandma had said. I don't like you, Grandma, for picking on Mom, the baby, and Emily. So goodbye. You insolent brat, despite your disability. Samuel grabbed the hand mother-in-law had raised against Sarah and twisted it.
Enough is enough.
Ouch! Let go.
Hurt? Emily suffered more. If Rachel had fallen for your trap, she would have suffered even more.
Help! Ache! Mother-in-law screamed as Emily watched her with icy eyes. Mom, you're not remorseful at all. You won't have anyone to take care of you in the future. What? Mother-in-law broke down. We forcibly made her stand and kicked her out of the hospital room and, of course, out of our lives as well. Afterwards, Emily and I successfully sued mother-in-law in civil court and won a significant settlement. I also gave birth safely a healthy baby boy. Sarah loves her baby brother and plays with him every day. Emily, who has recovered from her broken bones, had a shotgun wedding with a coworker one day. They often come to visit with their newborn, showering our children with love. Mother-in-law, unable to even see her grandchild's face, lives alone in a cheap apartment dealing with the shock. She is also in debt due to the settlement and seems to be struggling in life. Everyone becomes a disabled person in some way as they age, but no one will be there to help mother-in-law. Of course, we have no intention of helping her. We hope she lives a life full of regret. We're not yet sure if our son has a disability. He might be like Sarah, and we'll know early on, or like Samuel, and we won't know until he's older. But whether our children have disabilities or not, they are our precious ones. We have decided to nurture them lovingly.
I'm Emily, a 32-year-old working mom. I just got married to Alexander, who was my classmate in college. We're enjoying the honeymoon phase of our marriage. To be honest, we might be so lovey-dovey that it surprises people around us. But that's how it is. We've been through a lot before tying the knot, so it was worth the wait. Alexander, my husband, proposed to me 5 years after we graduated from college, when I was 27. We both were well adjusted to adult life, and the timing felt just right. Of course, I had no reason to say no. Sure, let's get married. When I accepted his proposal right away, Alexander seemed shocked. Are you sure? You're really going to marry me? Why wouldn't I? We've been dating for 7 years. Did you really think I'd say no now? Well, yeah, but still, as a guy, it's nerve-wracking. What if you had turned me down? You do have a cute side. There's no way I'd say no. In fact, I've been waiting for this moment for a long time. With that, I lunged into Alexander's arms, and he hugged me back gently. You'd think a couple so in love would get married right away. But it wasn't that simple. The reason it took 5 years from the proposal to the wedding was largely due to Alexander's mom, my future mother-in-law, Isabella. I absolutely oppose this marriage. There's no way Alexander should get married. I won't allow it. When we went to Alexander's family home to announce our engagement, Isabella vehemently opposed it. She didn't have a specific reason. She simply loved her son too much and didn't want to lose him to another woman. Mom, it's not up to you to allow or disallow this. Alexander wants to get married, and you should show respect for his decision. Alexander's sister Grace, now my sister-in-law, also supported us. Besides, Mom, you knew Emily and Alexander have been together for a long time. Emily has even visited our home multiple times. Grace had already moved out to start her own family, but she'd come back home for summer vacations and New Year celebrations, so we'd met a few times. You knew I'd get married someday, right, Mom? Thinking you'll marry eventually and rushing into it are two different things. Once you're married, it's not so easy to just break up, you know? As if thinking about breaking up is any consolation. Anyway, I oppose this marriage. If you're dead set on it, do it in front of my tombstone. With Mom saying that, neither Alexander nor I could push forward with marriage against her wishes. To be honest, for a split second, we considered actually getting married in front of her tombstone. 5 years later, thanks to our relentless persuasion and some help from my father-in-law, William, and Grace, we finally got the green light for marriage. The joy of actually being able to tie the knot felt so much greater because of the challenges we'd faced. Now we can be affectionate without a care in the world, and I can say yes to romantic moments anytime. The only thing casting a shadow on this newlywed bliss is the upcoming holiday. We were on our honeymoon during the summer, so we didn't visit my in-laws' house. That's why Isabella has been hounding me to come to this holiday. Should I just go by myself? Emily might feel awkward. How about we say we're each going to our own parents' houses for the holidays? Alexander offers a solution, but it would likely provoke Isabella. No, it's fine. Isabella finally approved of our marriage, so I think she's accepted me. Plus, we'll have William and Grace there. So we decided to visit my in-laws' house together. The road to marriage had its hurdles, but now I'm a part of this family. I was hopeful that Isabella and I would finally get along. That was naive of me. The moment we arrived at the in-laws' house, it became clear. As we reached the entrance, Isabella came out specifically to greet Alexander. Ah, Alexander, welcome back. Come on in. Isabella takes Alexander's hand and welcomes him inside. I try to follow through the entrance. The door abruptly slams shut right in front of my face. What? Stunned, I stand there. Was I just locked out? After a moment, the door reopens. Sorry about that. Didn't notice you. I didn't expect you to be together. Isabella offers an awkward smile. She probably got scolded by Alexander inside. I get the feeling Isabella only agreed to this marriage because she was pressured by others. She doesn't truly accept me, and it brings me down. I bet this long weekend is going to be filled with similar situations. It's going to be tough. Sadly, my hunch was right on the money. It seems Isabella decided to turn me into her personal punching bag as a trade-off for consenting to the marriage. She's been pulling every passive-aggressive trick in the book on me. First, she tries to dump house chores on me. Emily, could you please take care of weeding the garden? After that, you can tidy up the barn. But Alexander jumps in before I even get a chance to reply. Do we really need to weed? Why not just use some weed killer later? We just got here. Don't make her work. And what's this about tidying the barn? How's she supposed to know where things go when she never even goes in there? When that fails, she resorts to belittling my family. We recently received a gift from Emily's family. I'm not one to complain about gifts, but it didn't really suit my taste. Their sense of giving is somewhat off. This time, William comes to my defense. Didn't suit your taste? You ate it all up. Even took my share. Quite bold of you to say that after the fact. Yet Isabella's campaign of petty annoyances doesn't end there. When Grace comes over with her kids, she starts making digs about children. I wonder when Alexander's child will be born. You know they say if a couple doesn't have kids in 3 years, it leads to divorce. Grace laughs it off. Come on, Mom. Alexander and Emily are still newlyweds. They've been married less than a year. If they had a child now, it'd be a shotgun wedding. Even at dinner, Isabella keeps up her attempts to make me uncomfortable. We order steak for delivery, but my order is the only one missing a salad. Mom, what's going on? Are you trying to single out Emily? I've been noticing you picking on her. Are you actually trying to make her uncomfortable? Grace confronts Isabella, visibly irritated, so I quickly chime in. No, it's fine. I asked Isabella to leave it out. I'm not big on veggies. The truth is, I have no problem with vegetables, but it's a little white lie to keep the peace. Really? Well, if that's the case. My intervention cools Grace down. I wish Isabella would understand that I'm doing my best here. I just wish she'd see my kindness. That's how the night went. Late into the evening, when everyone was relaxed, Isabella spoke to me. Emily, go ahead and take a shower. You're the last one. Ah, okay. I've cleaned the floor since everyone's been in there. I've also added some aromatherapy, so take your time. Thank you so much. I was touched. It seemed that Isabella had finally accepted me because I had defended her earlier over the salad incident. I felt relieved. My earlier act of consideration had not been in vain. From now on, Isabella probably wouldn't harass me over trivial matters. Feeling elated, I hummed a tune on my way to the bathroom. But the moment I opened the bathroom door, I was taken aback. Ugh, it stinks. The room was filled with the pungent smell of bleach. What is this? I quickly opened the window. It appeared that bleach had not only been spread on the walls and floor, but also applied to the shower. The aromatherapy oils had mixed with the bleach, creating a terrible smell. And it hurt my eyes, too. With the window wide open, I took a cold shower in the chilly bathroom. I was freezing. This can't be another prank. She must have forgotten to rinse the bleach when cleaning the bathroom. It has to be that. Still smelling a faint scent of bleach, I reassured myself while scrubbing with a sponge. I didn't want to believe that Isabella had intentionally smeared bleach in the shower, especially after feeling grateful to her earlier. After exiting the bathroom, I asked her, Isabella, the bathroom had a strong smell of bleach. Did you forget to rinse it? Oh, wasn't that the aroma? I splurged on an expensive foreign brand, so maybe it smells different than the American ones. With that explanation, I had no choice but to believe her. Is that so? Isabella must have gotten confused between aroma oils and bleach because of her age. She had gone out of her way to clean the bathroom for me. I wanted to interpret it in a positive light, so I decided not to press the issue further and tried to forget it as some mistake. However, it was wishful thinking on my part. It seemed Isabella assumed she could get away with anything concerning her daughter-in-law, since I hadn't said anything. The next day, I was out for a walk in the neighborhood around my in-laws' house when it suddenly started to pour. Without an umbrella, I panicked. Rushing back to my in-laws' house, Isabella yelled, "Oh my goodness, you're soaked! Take a shower, you'll catch a cold." I was touched once again by Isabella's kindness as she showed concern for my well-being. "Thank you." "I'll get the bathroom ready right away." Isabella darted into the bathroom. After a few moments, she let me know it was ready, so I headed that way. But then, I was taken aback again. It smells again. The bathroom was once again filled with the odor of bleach. There I stood, in utter disbelief, wearing nothing. 2 days in a row now. There's no more room for doubt. Isabella had intentionally doused the place with bleach, knowing I would shower. The idea that Isabella was looking out for me was a joke. I felt foolish for having thought so, though reluctantly agreeing to marriage due to societal pressure. It became clear that Isabella never accepted me. So I thought to myself, should I just silently endure her harassment? Absolutely not. Should I confront Isabella and kick off a fight? That's one way, but I had a better idea. Let's declare war in a way that really gets to Isabella, the mama who loves her son so much. Wrapping just in a bath towel around me, I walked out of the bathroom toward the living room. "What? Emily, what are you wearing?" Ignoring Isabella's shocked expression, I turned to Alexander, who was sitting nearby. "Alexander, want to shower together?" "Huh? Together?" He seemed surprised by my scant attire, but even more by my suggestion. "Yeah, we always shower together, don't we?"
Well, yes, but this is my parents' house, so..."
Alexander hesitated, mindful of his parents, but I went all in, seducing him with my eyes. "Alexander, you're always saying how you want to do this and that in the bathroom, right? This one is larger than ours. Maybe we can be bolder in a new setting." Ooh. His throat audibly gulped, just as I'd planned.
"How indecent, right in front of us."
"Well, we can't help it. We're newlyweds. So, Alexander, what will it be? Better hurry, or I'll start showering without you." With that, I turned and headed back to the bathroom. As expected, a delighted Alexander followed.
"Wow, Emily, you're pretty daring. This is kind of exciting."
Sorry to get his hopes up, but this was merely a ploy to get him into the bathroom. Realizing this, Isabella rushed to stop Alexander. "Wait, don't go into the bathroom!" But it was already too late. As soon as Alexander came into the dressing room, I swung the bathroom door wide open. Immediately, Alexander was hit with the strong smell of bleach emanating from the bathroom.
"What is this stench?"
Grimacing from the eye-watering smell, I spoke as calmly as I could muster. "It's a gift from Isabella. Seems like she's diffusing some more of that expensive aroma oil for us. Turns out this foreign stuff smells like bleach. Who knew?"
"What are you talking about, Mom? What's going on here?"
Alexander stormed back into the living room and confronted Isabella.
"Why is there bleach instead of aroma oil? Have you lost your mind? Or is this on purpose?"
I didn't."
If someone accidentally drank that shower water or got it in their eyes, do you know how dangerous that would be? Are you trying to make me sick, Mom?
Pressed by Alexander's stern questioning, Isabella let it slip. "No, I never intended to make Alexander sick. I didn't think he would be the one using it."
"What, so if Emily used it and got sick, that would have been fine?"
Isabella caught herself too late and covered her mouth, but the damage was done.
"I suspected as much. This was targeted harassment against Emily, wasn't it? You're willing to make her sick just because you dislike her."
"I didn't mean..." Isabella tried to excuse herself, but I interrupted. "The truth is, there was bleach in it yesterday, too. I got rid of it without saying anything." "What?" Not just Alexander, but William and Grace were also shocked by my revelation. I thought I could keep quiet if it meant calming Isabella down. She's so fond of Alexander. I get that she might not like me for marrying him. I believed that she'd come around eventually, but I guess that's not going to happen. I let it all out.
"Mom, this is disgraceful. Emily's such a kind person, and yet you harass her like this. We won't be coming back to this house. We're cutting ties with you, Mom."
"What? Cut ties?" Isabella, who adored her son, was stunned.
You can't be serious. Of course I am. I can't bring my wife back to a home where she's being harmed. What if our future children face the same harm? I will do whatever it takes to eliminate the risks and protect my wife and future children.
At Alexander's firm words, Isabella was thrown into confusion.
Please forgive me. It was just a lapse in judgment. I promise I won't do it again.
Isabella offered a deep apology, but her husband wasn't showing signs of forgiveness. Continuing from where we left off, Grace spoke directly to Isabella. Listen, I'm also done coming back here. I've got my own husband and kids to protect. Mom, do you realize what you did could have been criminal? Emily's okay, thankfully. But what you were planning on doing if something happened? I don't want my children to see their grandmother acting so irresponsibly towards someone she despises.
What? You too? I'm sorry.
Isabella apologized again, even more sincerely.
Hey, take responsibility for your own actions, said William, who had been silent all this time. If you end up estranged from your children, you've got no one to blame but yourself. You've given me a lot to rethink about our life together.
What? Not you too? Isabella was completely taken aback. William's comment about reconsidering their life together likely included considering a divorce at this stage of their lives. If a longtime housewife like Isabella got divorced, she would find herself in a financially unsustainable position.
Oh, please forgive me. I'll do anything. Just don't leave me.
Isabella clung to William.
First, clean that bathroom.
Angrily, Isabella rushed into the bathroom. After a while, a scream was heard from Isabella.
Ah! My eyes hurt. It stinks.
Grace muttered. She could just ventilate the room, but the kindness to advise Isabella seemed to have vanished from Grace's heart.
I'm sorry, Emily. I apologize on behalf of my wife.
William apologized to me. It's not your fault, William. Are you really considering divorce?
Well, I had to be harsh. I'll keep a close eye on Isabella so she doesn't cause any more trouble for you and others.
He reassured me. I couldn't help but smile. Thank you. Afterward, Isabella couldn't see her children or grandchildren and led a lonely life. There was no issue in our relationship with William, as we continued to invite him over. Isabella wanted to join him, but she gave up after he warned her that causing any more trouble would lead to divorce. As for Alexander and me, our lives were as loving as ever. Speaking of which, we developed a new signal between us. Whenever we felt like having some intimate time in the bathroom, one of us would just say, "Did you check for any bleach in the bathroom?" Of course, there's no bleach. Then it's a quick transition to quality shower time together. Kind of like our own private bath time version of a yes-no pillow. As for what we actually do in there, well, that's a secret.
My name is Caroline. I'm 35 and in my 3rd year of marriage, juggling life as a working mom. I've known my husband since we were kids. We hadn't been in touch for many years since middle school, but we reconnected at a reunion and immediately clicked. Before we knew it, we were dating. Everything went smoothly in our relationship, and we naturally moved on to getting married. Both of us were in our mid-30s when we tied the knot. So, we were already talking about having kids soon. Then, I got transferred. And guess what? The new office was near my husband's parents. My husband and his folks were thrilled. "Why don't we live together? It'll be easier when you guys have kids," they said. Now, it's not like I have a bad relationship with my in-laws, but I wanted to maintain some space, so I kindly declined. They seemed pretty disappointed. I felt guilty, but figured it's better for everyone to have some boundaries. My husband agreed, or so I thought. Looking back, that was the starting point for everything. Due to my job transfer, we had to rent a new apartment, My husband's commute went from 30 minutes to an hour. I felt bad for making his life harder, but he told me,
"We're a team. Don't worry about it."
I was glad to have such an understanding husband. Yet, my in-laws didn't see it that way.
"How can you inconvenience your husband for your own needs? A good wife would never do that,"
they criticized.
"Exactly. Derek is right. Don't you think you lack a sense of compassion for your husband?"
Why were they butting in? We had made this decision together. Ever since I turned down their offer to live together, they've been giving me the cold shoulder.
"Caroline, did you marry your job or what?"
Look, you're not getting any younger. Start thinking about having children. True happiness for a woman isn't found at work. It's in raising a family. Funny, because before we got married, they were all for me continuing my career, saying things like,
"If our son is with a self-sufficient woman, we can rest easy."
Can you believe how he's changed just because I said we shouldn't live with his parents? At first, my husband used to stand up for me, but now he's like,
"Well, what Dad and Mom are saying makes sense. At this rate, what's even the point of us being married?"
He's actually started saying things like that. But that's not all.
"No, you're too busy to cook? Fine, I'll eat at my parents' house,"
he says, and heads there more often than not. Sure, I've been working late since the job transfer. I've been doing my best with pre-made meals and takeout, but I guess that's not good enough for him. And then, the second I get home, the calls from my mother-in-law start.
"What kind of wife can't even prepare a meal? Are you even aware you're married? You're just a freeloader."
Hold on, I make money too. She ends the conversation with,
"From now on, we'll feed him. So do whatever you want."
Taking care of your married son's meals? Talk about helicopter parents. To begin with, my husband comes home at the same time every day. Shouldn't he be the one making dinner when I'm stuck at work? It's not just my in-laws, I'm also growing frustrated with my husband. Even with all these concerns, I still have one person on my side.
"Hey, it's Uncle!" "Caroline, how are ya?"
I've been better.
"What's wrong? You sound down."
The caller was my late mother's real brother. I lost my parents in my 20s, so my uncle has been like a stand-in dad for me. I told my uncle in detail about my job transfer and my struggles with my in-laws. He listened to me intently. And for the first time in a long while, I felt at peace.
"My in-laws, huh? That's a real piece of work."
You're telling me? It's like they're negating everything about me.
"Your husband's no better. He should be standing up for you."
I know, right? It's just awful.
"When you're troubled or worried, nothing beats eating something delicious to take your mind off it. Come by sometime and I'll treat you to some good food. And bring your husband too. I'll give him a piece of my mind."
My uncle owns a restaurant. When my parents were alive, we often dined at his place.
Sounds good.
We'll definitely stop by soon then.
"Anytime, Caroline. If you're struggling, call me, all right?"
Thanks, Uncle. Talking to Uncle made me feel so much better. It was a much-needed relief. One weekend, I was catching up on chores I couldn't get to during the week. My husband, meanwhile, was lounging on the sofa, doing nothing.
"Hey, can you help out? I'm tired too." "Why? You're the woman. You should do it."
What kind of logic is that?
"My mom never made my dad do chores." That's because she was a homemaker. I work full time.
What? You think you're better than my mom?
That's not what I mean.
You've become so unpleasant.
Look who's talking. Ever since he started spending more time with his parents, he's been so hostile towards me. If this continues, our marriage could be at risk. To be a good partner, I decided to adjust my work schedule to come home at a more reasonable time. I figured this would reduce my husband's visits to his parents' house and give us a chance to reevaluate our relationship. I had to admit, I'd been using work as an excuse not to be emotionally available to my husband. From then on, I'd make an effort to come home early, cook dinner, and spend quality time together. Things started to look up. My husband's frequent visits to his parents' house dwindled, and our normal routine seemed to return. Or so I thought. Then came the curveball from his parents.
Hey, Mom ordered steak delivery for tonight. Let's go eat there.
What? I've already prepared dinner.
But they've gone through the trouble of ordering. How could we say no?
Well, I guess you're right. So my husband and I reluctantly decide to go to my in-laws'. Getting takeout all of a sudden, doesn't that seem a bit suspicious? Or is it just me who feels this way? Upon arriving at the in-laws, there was a plate from an upscale steak restaurant set out for each person. But there were only 3.
Welcome, let's eat,
my mother-in-law says cheerfully, as if I'm not even there, only to my husband.
Ah, you made it. Today's steak is sirloin.
My father-in-law chimed in, not even glancing my way, enjoying his steak and beer. Should I address this? I mustered the courage to speak. Where's mine? Summoning up the courage, I finally speak out. My mother-in-law offers a creepy smile.
Well, that's odd. I ordered 4 steaks. Something must be wrong.
My father-in-law is too engrossed in his meal to even look at me. As for my husband, he takes a bite of his steak, says,
Delicious,
then brushes off the issue.
Maybe the steakhouse messed up the order. No big deal.
Are you kidding me? So I'm the odd one out here. My mother-in-law tells such blatant lies, and my husband and father-in-law pretend not to notice. I'm amazed that adults can act so childishly. But I handle it all with a cool head. All right then, I'll be leaving. No one tries to stop me. Driving home from my in-laws, tears flood my cheeks. All I wanted was to get along with them. Why do I have to endure this? Unforgivable. Absolutely unforgivable. So, I decided to take action in secret. I had to keep up the appearance of being the perfect wife. I made sure to come home on time, prepared meals for my husband, and flawlessly handled all the chores. My husband continues to have dinner at his parents' house and sometimes even stays overnight. Our marriage is obviously on the rocks, but I stick to my role as a devoted wife. I'm waiting for the perfect opportunity, and it finally arrives. One day off, I get an unusual call from my mother-in-law.
It's been a while. How about some steak? I ordered delivery.
It's rare for them to reach out to me, but I already knew what they were after. Even with my mean-spirited mother-in-law's devilish tone, I responded pleasantly.
Thank you. We'll be there,
I say politely. My husband and I head to my in-laws' place. When we get there, sure enough, there are only 3 plates of steak. Well, just as I expected. When things go exactly as planned, it actually makes it easier to handle. Where's mine? I ask, just like before. Oh, that's strange. I swear I ordered 4. I almost laugh at how staged her response is, but I hold back. Are you sure you ordered 4? What? You doubt me? Mother-in-law's gaze sharpens. Sensing the tension, my husband intervenes. Come on, maybe the steakhouse got it wrong. It's happened before. Don't get so upset. You'll get wrinkles. My in-laws burst into laughter at my husband's lame joke. Caroline, you've been looking a bit aged lately. Don't lose your femininity, always buried in work. Coming from a woman with far more wrinkles than me, that's unexpected. You must remember your role as a wife. Always strive to look beautiful. Father-in-law adds, stuck in another era, as if they were the ones in the right. Time to set things straight. Frustration boiling over, I finally burst out loud. Unbelievable. What's wrong with this steakhouse? Messing up our order time and time again. They can't be serious. Yep, I'm calling them right now. I made a big fuss and called the steakhouse using my in-laws' phone. Hello? Can't you even take an order correctly? You're always messing up the quantity. Isn't that pretty unprofessional? Thanks to you, I always end up missing out on my steak. How do you plan on making it right? Both my husband and in-laws were speechless at my actions. Okay, got it. We'll be right over. With things settled, I turned to my mother-in-law. The steakhouse wants to apologize. How about we go there right now, mother-in-law? Apologize? Yes. They said they want to apologize in person for messing up our order so many times. They can't come now because they're open for business, so they asked if we could go to them. It's really a rude place, but they're willing to apologize. Let's go. This is just outrageous. Mother-in-law was flustered by my fiery tone, but I didn't care. It's the restaurant's fault, isn't it, mother-in-law? Caroline, you're blowing this way out of proportion. Just stop it. Why should I? They messed up, not me. I've missed out on steak twice now. Isn't that weird? Don't be a Karen. It's embarrassing. A Karen? What are you talking about? I have a legitimate complaint here. Mother-in-law, you surely wouldn't forget to order my portion, right? Yes, of course. Then let's go get that apology, shall we? I pulled my visibly shaken mother-in-law and we headed towards the restaurant. My father-in-law and husband also followed, sensing that this was no small matter. Time for a little payback. As we entered, a few customers were inside, and a man who appeared to be the master was grilling steaks behind the counter. I was the one who called earlier. Upon hearing this, the master came out from behind the counter to face us. I would like an apology for the messed up orders. I prepared the quantity exactly as I was told. In response to master's words, I feigned utter surprise. The patrons around us started murmuring, but I didn't mind. Everything had gone as planned so far. Time for the grand finale. What? So you're saying, mother-in-law, that you didn't even order food for me, your daughter-in-law? Why would you do that? Is this some sort of spite? Mother-in-law looked visibly rattled by my accusation. She never expected me, the wife, to fire back like this. No, that's not it. I genuinely made a mistake. But the waiter said everything was according to the order. I simply miscounted the number of dishes, all right? Can we go home now? What? You confused 3 with 4? Are you showing signs of dementia, mother-in-law? Caroline, that's way out of line. My father-in-law raised his voice, but I didn't back down. It's not normal to mix up 3 and 4. Just admit you did it to spite me.
Everyone makes mistakes. Can't you understand that?
Mistakes? This goes way beyond a simple mistake. Given your usual behavior towards me, it's only natural to suspect it was intentional. Then, mother-in-law, apparently offended by the dementia remark, readily admitted her wrongdoing. Yes, fine. I don't like you, so I did it to spite you. I can't believe this. Aren't you ashamed to act like such a child? Didn't you learn in school not to do things that others dislike? This is not something a grown adult, let alone a senior, should be doing. Cornered by my logic, mother-in-law had no retort. Both my husband and father-in-law seemed stunned into silence. And as the icing on the cake, the other customers in the restaurant began to voice their support. Deliberate spite? Wow, didn't think that still happened. I can't believe it's them. Better keep my distance from now on. Mother-in-law looked shocked. No wonder why. Most of the patrons in the restaurant lived in the same neighborhood as my in-laws. No, wait! There's an explanation for... Too late. Feeling increasingly uncomfortable, the 3 of them hastily left the restaurant. Caroline, that was awesome. Master patted me on the shoulder. Sorry to drag you into this, uncle. Turns out, the steakhouse was actually owned by my uncle. I initially missed the restaurant's name, but later noticed it on a delivery bag. I'm really lucky, I guess, which made plotting this revenge quite easy. Whenever my in-laws invited me for steak, it was usually on the weekend following their pension payment. I had asked for my uncle's help to plan accordingly for this specific day. We even added some improvisational moments from regular customers my uncle knew well. My uncle had appealed. My dear niece is enduring persistent harassment. I could use your help. Thankfully, they were more than willing to play along. Having many of the in-laws as neighbors present really gave our plan a major boost. I wonder what kind of faces they're making right now. The thought alone kept me laughing. Eventually, my husband and I divorced. Despite my efforts to mend our relationship, it was clear he wasn't interested, so the path to divorce was pretty smooth. Luckily, as the one who caused the divorce, he didn't have much of a say in the negotiations. So, my meticulous play-the-good-wife plan aimed at revenge worked like a charm. Later, I got a call from my ex-husband. He had moved back in with his parents and was shocked at how uncomfortable it was. Small towns, you know. Gossip spreads fast. Mom gets cold stares wherever she goes, and for some reason I'm being shunned too. Why, he wonders. The reason is pretty clear. Anyone who joins in the bullying with his annoying parents deserves to be avoided. You're clueless. This is all coming back to haunt you. Enjoy your time with mom and dad in your small town. Just be careful not to get kicked out by the community. What do you mean, kicked out by the community? I wanted to tell him to figure it out himself, but I don't owe this fool any more of my time. I quietly hung up. His parents are trying to marry him off again by taking him to all sorts of matchmaking parties. But for some reason, it's not working out. I mean, can you blame them? Caroline, you've got to find happiness, not just for yourself, but for your late parents too, my uncle said, grilling a sirloin steak across the counter. My latest indulgence is treating myself once a week at my uncle's place. Thank you, uncle. I can feel the tears coming. It must be too much pepper. It was a night where my uncle's kindness touched my heart.
Seriously? You're such an annoyance? Maybe it's about time you kick the bucket, huh? Narrowing her eyes to glare at me, my daughter-in-law Kiki, along with her mother Sierra, spat these words in my face. Even my precious grandson Hank, whom my late son left behind, joins them in pointing at me and laughing. Seeing this unfold, I felt like I had reached my breaking point. Why keep people around who wish you gone? They're not family. They're nothing. The weight I'd been carrying in my chest seemed to lift, leaving me feeling oddly liberated. Well then, leave. We want to live just as a family. Sierra shouts at me, sounding like a villain from some story. Hank repeats her words like a parrot. Seeing the two of them so pleased, I could only sigh. Despite their continued jeers and insults, I could only muster a dry laugh. All right, I said, retreating to my room immediately. And so I began to plan my revenge against these strangers who felt entitled to stay in my home without a second thought. I'm Amy, 72 years old this year. I had been living with my son Wendell's family, but since he passed away, I've been living with his wife Kiki and grandson Hank. But it seems they don't appreciate this at all. Whatever goodwill I've shown them has been met with indifference, if not outright malice. Amy, I'm sorry. Work will keep me late again today. Don't worry about it. Just do your best at work. I'll look after Hank. Kiki often comes home late from work. Feeling sorry, she informs me as such, and I always try to encourage her. With Kiki so busy, my days consist of looking after Hank. That said, Hank is a middle schooler now. He should be able to take care of himself. Hey, Grandma, why do you cook such terrible stuff? I'm sorry, but you're growing. I make sure to cook enough. I don't want it. Not in the mood to eat this crap. Maybe Hank has felt lonely since his parents often work and leave him home alone. I was having a hard time with Hank, who was in the throes of teenage rebellion. It didn't help that he was disappointed his grandmother was the one taking care of him. He would often ignore the meals I prepared, and I even found out he was tossing the lunch boxes I made for him in the morning. He wouldn't lift a finger to do his laundry, but if I took it upon myself to bring it to his room, he'd snap at me. Don't come into my room without permission. I couldn't be too firm with him. I felt guilty for not allowing him to be indulged by his parents and having him endure instead. Yet, there was another factor that was making his behavior worse. Sierra, Kiki's mom. Really, Amy? You're feeding my grandson this junk? I'm sorry. Hank, Granny brought you some of your favorites. Go ahead, eat up. Awesome. You're a lifesaver. Sierra would come by unexpectedly, barge in without so much as a greeting, and shower Hank with gifts she called souvenirs. Even though they were Hank's favorite foods, they were often high in calories and greasy, just making his dislike of vegetables worse. Even if I hinted at his picky eating habits, Hank didn't listen. He had a powerful ally in his maternal grandmother. Sierra loves to criticize me, taking any opportunity to say whatever she wanted, making both Hank and herself feel better in the process. At times, she would even badmouth Wendell, who had passed away, leaving behind not just me, but our kids and his wife. Hank probably preferred Sierra over me, who nagged him daily. I was growing increasingly frustrated with Hank's worsening attitude and Sierra's enabling behavior. Still, I kept my composure, telling myself it was only once or twice a week. But that composure broke when Kiki made a certain suggestion. By the way, Amy, my mom's coming over next weekend. Just a heads up. Oh, she gave notice this time. Usually she'd just come over saying we're family and doesn't need to ask. Upon hearing what I had to say, Kiki frowned, but didn't object. Being a single mom and looking after a child at that age can't be easy, so I never insisted on moving out, I thought I'd be doing everything I could to help both of them.
My mom said she's okay with us living here together.
What? Sierra's going to live with us?
Yeah, Hank already adores my mom, so it should be fine, right?
Well, about that, I was at a loss for words. From Kiki's perspective, her own mother was more trustworthy. Even so, I'd been the one taking care of Kiki and Hank all this time. I was quite shocked that such a decision was made without even discussing it with me. Ignoring my reaction, Kiki continued.
I didn't even ask for Amy's opinion.
What do you mean?
Exactly what I said. Oh, please clean out Wendell's room. My mom is pretty efficient. She'll throw things out immediately.
I felt dizzy hearing her say this. She wanted to carelessly get rid of the memories in my late husband Wendell's room. The thought alone made my blood run cold. Rushing to Wendell's room, I started moving his belongings to my room, feeling a chill creeping into my heart. Sierra moved in before I knew it, and in no time, she acted like she owned the place. I had left some basic furniture in Wendell's room, thinking she would need it. But one morning, she had it all thrown out as bulk trash.
Who would want to use a bed that belonged to someone who's dead? Exactly. I told Amy to clear out the unnecessary stuff.
Maybe her ears aren't the only thing going bad in her old age.
As Sierra moved a bed into Wendell's room, a bed that looked out of place, she said this. The way Sierra claimed the space as her own and disregarded Wendell, along with Kiki and Hank's support for her, was something I couldn't forget. Soon after Sierra moved in, I lost my place in the house. Kiki was often absent due to work. Hank refused to eat my cooking. And Sierra catered to Hank while treating me like an enemy.
Enough of this. Learn something from Granny and cook something edible.
Hank, you need to eat some vegetables too, or it's unhealthy.
Don't worry, Granny knows exactly what you like.
I'll make lots of it for you.
With a smirk, they looked my way. While cleaning up the salad that had been knocked off the table, I pretended not to notice their contemptuous gaze. While Hank and I were sitting on the sofa happily eating the pizza that had been delivered without me noticing, I sighed. No matter how much this was for Hank's sake, being continually disregarded like this was disheartening. On top of that, feeling despised and being verbally abused made it hard to feel any love, even for my beloved grandson, left behind by my son. When did caring for Hank become more of an obligation than a pleasure? Reaching my limit, I took the opportunity to talk to Kiki when she came home late at night. I saw this as my last chance before our family bonds disappeared completely. However, Kiki was unaffected by my words, and she said,
So you're saying you don't like how my mom behaves?
You know, I thought living together in this house was a favor from me to you all. Can't you at least show a little appreciation as a family?
Huh, is that so?
I was the one who offered to continue living together after we lost Wendell, the breadwinner. I was also the one who decided to support Hank, who was emotionally unstable after losing his father. If family sentiments are absent in all of this, it wears down my soul. I tried to make Kiki understand my feelings, but she just grunted and said,
I'm tired,
then returned to her room without responding. The next morning on Kiki's day off, I was struck with a final blow.
Mom, listen. Amy doesn't like your attitude.
Oh, really? Maybe she's just lonely since Hank has been taken away from her. Suddenly, hearing this out loud, I was taken aback. While calling for Hank, they continued talking, glaring at me with malice.
She says this house is only running because of her generosity. What a high and mighty attitude.
I wonder what she's trying to say. Does she not understand she's not the only family member here?
Seriously, it's infuriating. Maybe you should die soon too, like someone's son.
Kiki spat out these words, with eyes wide open, glaring at me. Hank, who had been laughing at the sight, repeated Kiki's words like a parrot.
Die soon? Ha! That's harsh. Oh.
Hank, don't laugh so much. You'll make Amy feel bad. Witnessing this scene, I felt as if I'd reached my breaking point. What had I been thinking? Serving these people all along? Any feelings for my precious grandson, left behind by my son, had long vanished. As they say, people who wish for your absence aren't family or anything of the sort. A weight lifted from my chest, and I felt clear-headed for the first time in a while.
What's with that look? Shocked to find out we're not family? Have you finally lost it?
Fine. We're going to live as a family from now on. Get out. I can only muster a dry laugh in response to the three people mocking and berating me. Understood, I reply, and quickly retreat to my room. I start planning my revenge on these people who have overstayed their welcome in my home without a second thought. First, I call a moving company to get all of my belongings out of this house. The movers gladly accept the job. As soon as I hang up the phone, they arrive and start loading my things onto the truck with efficiency.
Wait, why are you taking the furniture and appliances too?
Because most of the things in this house were purchased by me.
You're the only one getting kicked out. You should leave them.
No, thank you. I have no intention of leaving anything for strangers. Maybe it's because I've always been accommodating. But the three are surprised by my calm response. But they were the ones who hurled unspeakable insults, proving they're not family or even decent human beings. I have nothing more to give them. When we started living together, I had said I wanted to save money, so I purchased most of the furniture and appliances. That includes Kiki's favorite microwave and Hank's go-to sofa. I have them promptly packed by the movers. As my belongings are being carted away, the three continue to snipe, albeit with unpleasant expressions.
Well, fine. I'm actually glad you're getting rid of that old furniture. Makes things feel fresh.
Granny, why don't you buy me a new bed while you're at it?
Sure, let's get one bigger than before. I ignore their incessant sarcastic remarks and tape up the final box. After glancing around our empty house, apart from their rooms, I gave a cheerful, "Well then," turned my back to the three of them, and left.
How wonderful this home is now that the nuisance is gone.
You don't have a home to return to anymore.
Spend your lonely retirement alone. Ignoring their noisy complaints, I couldn't help but chuckle. Do they really think this is over just because I walked out with my bags? I looked back once more at the three optimistic faces, wondering how they'd react to what was about to happen. A soft chuckle rose within me as I thought about it.
Wait a minute, what did you do?
The angry voice came over the phone a few days after I had left. After leaving, I quickly completed some paperwork. One afternoon while relaxing in a hotel, as I searched for a new place to live, I got a call from Kiki, who should have been working.
Oh,
took the day off.
That's not the point. What did you do to our house?
Kiki's words prompted me to respond with a deliberately feigned, "Ah," ignoring her shrill insults thrown at me as if she was under some kind of pressure. I casually handled the situation and answered her question. "I sold the house. It's not my place to live anymore."
You sold it? Our house? The house Wendell bought?
It's not our house. It's my house. Did you forget about the asset division? When I said that, she fell silent, apparently having forgotten entirely. The house had been under my eldest son's name, but during the asset division, Kiki dumped all the messy paperwork on me because it was too much of a hassle. I agreed to her audacious request to transfer the house title to me in exchange for all financial matters concerning her and Hank. Realizing she had just now caught on to the facts, she started making frantic excuses.
That's not what I meant.
What I do with my house is my business. Please make moving arrangements soon.
But then we'll have nowhere to live.
Not my problem. That's someone else's house, as far as I'm concerned. As I was leaving Kiki, who had shouted loudly that it's more comfortable without the nuisance, had lost her enthusiasm and was mumbling softly. Behind her, 2 others seemed to have overheard. I heard a voice scolding her.
What are you going to do now?
Why not ask Sierra? Heck, even your parents' old house, where you lived before, would do.
Well, that house is even older than this one. There's no way I can go back there.
Then find an apartment or something.
Can't we just have this house?
Are you kidding me? You want the house for free. Use the inheritance Wendell left you and figure it out. I gave her a piece of my mind, then chaos erupted on the other end of the line. Everyone was talking at once, making it impossible to understand what was being said, so I hung up the phone. For a while the calls kept coming, but I ignored them. Then a call from Hank's number came through. Yes? Grandmother? I'm sorry. I want to live with you as a family again. I see. I promise no more complaints. The food you cook is actually really good. Hearing that now only sounds like you're trying to butter me up. His words, contrasting sharply with his previous rough attitude, made me waver for a moment. But then I remembered the day Kiki said,
Isn't it about time you died?
With a horrifying smile, and Hank laughed loudly, as if mocking me. At that moment, I felt that he wasn't Wendell's child. Hank is Kiki's child, not Wendell's. I couldn't see any trace of Wendell in the shallow way they changed their tune, and groveled the moment they faced trouble, despite wishing me gone. Live happily with your family of 3, I said. Wait, please, I apologize. Please forgive me. Some mistakes can't be undone. Teach that to your mother and Granny, too. And with that, I hung up again. Calls from Kiki continued, but eventually ceased when she seemed to give up. Finally, everything was over. I folded my hands in front of a photograph of Wendell that I had placed on the table and reported to him in silence. A few days later, apparently the 3 of them had no option but to move back to Kiki's old family home after their house was put up for sale. According to a tearful phone call from Hank, Kiki had been recklessly spending Wendell's inheritance and living it up. Their financial recklessness led to constant arguments with Sierra, making every day stressful for Hank. So what have you been up to? I don't feel like I belong in this house, so I've been hanging out at friends' places. I wish I could live with Grandma again. Try not to be a burden to your friends, okay? Hank keeps playing the victim card, but he makes no effort to appreciate his current family. Instead, he's just trying to win me over. It's clear he hasn't learned a thing, which I find frustrating. I'm not moved by Hank's appeals and choose to ignore them. Kiki, too, has called me, her voice laced with complaints about being yelled at by Hank and not being able to stand Sierra's lectures. Both Hank and Kiki only tell me things that are convenient for them, but I couldn't care less.
Amy, can't we be a family again?
You seemed pretty happy when I was out of the picture, didn't you?
Well, that was a poor choice of words.
You wanted me gone just like Wendell, didn't you? I can't be family with someone who says things like that. She stomped on my goodwill, calling it condescending, so I have no intention of doing anything more for her. Fed up, I decide to ignore calls from both of them. Then a call comes in from an unknown number. Answering it, I find, unsurprisingly, that it's Sierra. Amy, being stubborn won't get you anywhere. What are you talking about? Planning on living all alone? You can still come back, just apologize. Apologize and become what, your servant? She still can't humble herself to apologize to me. They try to lure me back with their self-centered talks, but I can only laugh it off. Don't you want to live with your cute grandchild again? Don't you regret abandoning your family? Regret it? Not a chance. You're the ones who cast me aside, saying I'm not family. Maybe you're the ones with regrets. That's why you're calling me. With that said, the call ends abruptly, amidst shouting on her end. Looking at the call ended on my phone, I once again affirm that I did nothing wrong. I've done all I can in that house. Hank is old enough to know right from wrong. If they had even offered a single apology to Wendell, I might have reconsidered. but all they did was try to win my favor. So let them enjoy their real family. I sold the house and moved into a new apartment with the money. In my sunny new room, I offer a prayer to Wendell's picture. Whether they're real family or not, caring for others is what really matters. Smiling, I update Wendell's photo on how things have turned out for them. I don't have to worry about anyone else or be unnecessarily considerate anymore. Living alone in my comfortable new home feels incredibly refreshing.